almost as if what they're trying to do is to run away from the problem, right? And to absolve the folks who created the problem, kind of appease their conscience. I just want to live and coexist. And I wish you wouldn't see me as a black or brown person. So I'm going to tell you that whatever happened, it's okay. It's okay that your ancestors did that. It's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. Because if you don't recognize the impact of the actions that your ancestors made, you might repeat them. So you need to know what the impacts of those actions are. Now, imagine if today, let's just say, slavery, the enforcement of black people who were trafficked from Africa and brought to the New World, right? Let's say that that were to happen today again en masse. Do you think we would allow it? Yeah, because we would say, well, it happened 400 years ago. They look as happy as a lark. They don't look like, anything is bothering them. People would get up and go do it again. And that's the danger. So we have to constantly say, this is what happened. This is what it did. This is what it caused. And we can't repeat that. Right? Interesting, wouldn't you say? I think it's very, very interesting. And I think all of us need to get to that place where we can say, man, I never thought I'd live to see the day when this happened. I personally support anybody who is going to plant trees in any neighborhood. I think it's a healthy outcome. But my first question is, have you asked the people there what do they want? Have you asked the people? It's like you want to build a community center. But did you ask the people there if they want a community center in their neighborhood? The presumption that because you don't even realize that that's how you think. And this is the thing I've figured out with white folks. Sometimes they don't even realize that that's how they think. The presumption that you know what is right for them. Well, yes, we just need to build a park over there. It's going to help them. Did you ask them if they want a park? Their experience with a public park might be different from what you know and imagine. Maybe the parks you know and imagine included baby strollers and families strolling through. But for a black and brown person, it's where people lost their lives or women were sexually assaulted or drug trafficking took place. So you got to ask the people on the ground, what is their experience? What do you want to see out of this community center? Is this community center going to help youth? Are you going to provide a program where children after school, because their parents are still at work, where children after school, because this is different in some suburban neighborhoods, because the children sometimes have a parent already at home. But in urban neighborhoods where sometimes it's only one parent or both parents are out working, when the children get home, do those parents want their children at a community center where they're likely to be most influenced by others? Probably not. So ask the people if that is what they want. What kind of programs would help those neighborhoods? Are you going to do sports? Right? Or are you going to do something else? Do you see what I'm saying? The greening of Detroit, the greening of any neighborhood, for instance, has to take place with community partners. Any initiative that is going to affect people's lives, there should be an engagement process. People should be able to say, well, I would like it if it has this component, or it would be better if this happened. But the assumption that you're going to go in and do it and it is going to be good for them, that presumption is wrong. You have to ask them. And that's what this organization didn't do. Now, did they learn their lesson? They say they did. So what they did was they now have, listen to this, they now have community outreach persons on their staff who are from the neighborhoods. Do you know what that did? It dramatically changed their effect. Dramatically. Because what it did was now you have people from the community who feel that they have a voice, and now they can say, well, this would work better if so and so. So it makes you wonder, why didn't they think of this in the first place? Because again, the presumption, the inherent underlying presumption is that I know what is best for you. And because I know what is best for you, bully to you on whatever you think You just don't get it. But I know what is best for you. Kind of sounds controlling much, but also kind of sounds distrustful much. You've got to engage the people on the ground and ask them what their participation levels are going to be. What would this look like? I'm forever amazed that you go into some communities, and if there is a proposal to change the budget, or if there's a proposal to do anything, they seek the participation of the people. They send out letters, they send out circulars, they create a community awareness event and invite the people to come in, and they vote on it. And if the people don't like it, it's not going to happen. This didn't happen in this greening project of Detroit. They said they put out the circulars, but you had a group of white people coming into a black neighborhood to tell them to plant trees. They're going to look at you and you presume to know too much. And this is, and some of you, I can feel you saying, well, there was nothing wrong with that. No, there was nothing wrong with the idea, but you still have to ask the people why, because like I told you, the people have a negative experience associated with trees in their neighborhoods, and that negative experience came from something some of them had lived through and had passed on to their generations. That when they had trees in their neighborhoods were quite fine. But the federal government decided that their trees weren't good enough and sprayed some DDT on it to cut down the trees. So the people felt like that was just evolved out of the 1967 race riots. Therefore, there was a greater level of mistrust because they see everyone white as part of the power structure, the existing power structure, that it just perpetuates. The figureheads change, but the power structure is the power structure. Do you see what I'm saying? Did I say that right? The power structure is the power structure. Right? Think about it. So I'm going to post a link to the article. I'd like you all to read it and to see where we're coming from this, because this is something that is taking place in other urban communities across the country. Environmental justice is a thing, right? Environmental justice, right? You have to look at the comparatives and the narratives. And I know you hear this word narratives a lot, and you're like, is that now just a buzzword? But the narratives are the stories. You have to hear the stories. You can't just make assumptions and presumptions based on what our own preconceptions are. The folks who went in to plant the trees, they had their own preconceptions. They just thought if we planted trees, it was going to improve the health outcomes for people. I don't see why that is a bad thing. But that's your preconception. What is the actual experience of the people who live in that space? It's just like, in a lot of ways, I can say that I acclimate to how transgender folks feel. But I've never been transgender. I don't know what it feels like to have that diabolic, that double identity. I don't know what it feels like. You see what I'm saying? So I can have a preconception about it, but the actual experience is very different. Right? And sometimes our preconceptions work to our disadvantage. Our preconceptions tend to inhibit us from seeing the true realities on the ground. And that, my friends, is where we stop. We've got to engage with the people and engage with the people to hear what they have to say. Listen to what they're saying. Hear what they have to say. Yeah, you have a good idea. But let's hear what the people on the ground have to say. You know who is very good at listening to the people on the ground? The police. Would you believe that? The police. The police go into an area because a crime took place, and they go into a neighborhood. And the citizens will tell the police, you'd be surprised. The citizens will tell the police. The police hear what they have to say. So urban planners and everybody else is over here saying, what those people need is this or that. And the police are like, no, that's not what they need. Go into the local police precinct. And they're going to tell you, no, that's not what they need. What they need is this, based on this, based on that. That's what the people say. The successful state representative, community council, and so on is the one who listens to the people. The reason Hillary Clinton didn't win was because she did not listen to the people. She didn't go out and touch the people's hands. She didn't come to Michigan. She didn't go to Wisconsin. She didn't go into Pennsylvania because they told her it was a slam dunk. You'd have to go and listen to the people. The people have to feel that they are heard. There's another example in Detroit of another politician who lost because of that. You got to go in and touch and talk to the people. Any project that you're going to undertake. When I was setting up the Exodus Foundation with the view to help and provide shelter for and services for human trafficking victims, what do you think I did? I went around the state and listened to a wide variety of community partners and asked, what would that feel and look like? But I also asked survivors, people who have been through it, what does it feel like? Yeah, I had a presumption and a preconception that this is what they need and I'm going to provide what they need. But I felt like that was existing in a vacuum. I needed to hear from the people who have lived it and experienced it to know what works. So I'm just saying that that's what we need to engage more. The big bank, JP Morgan Chase, has this new initiative and this program. And he said he looked at the problem and he said, you know, something that the CEO said, he said, you can't throw money at everything. He said, sometimes just writing a check is not enough. He said, we have the information and the analytics. He said, we crunch the numbers, we can tell. So he said what they did was he created a program based on the analytics and the data that they have that helped them to design a program for advancing cities. Very clever, wouldn't you say? Guess what they did? They listened to the people. They went and mined the data and looked at what the people's spending habits were, what their experiences were, and now they come up with a program that works. So instead of just saying, oh, I'll just write a check to the city of Detroit and give them $500 million to go do something, at least you know now, here is where that $500 million should go to. Kind of change the face of philanthropy a little bit, but it's also more inclusive and, more importantly, more engaging to the people who will be experiencing the change. And that, my friends, is how this cookie crumbled today. We learned a lot about the greening of Detroit, but we also learned that community engagement and engaging the people on the ground is perhaps the most effective tool that you can use to get people to change. You have an idea, you want to do something? Engage the people, find out. What is it that this would do? Sometimes we just make presumptions that this is what people need and this is what they need. Engage with a person. We even do it in our personal relationships. You meet a guy meets girl, and he just looks at her and says, she's a woman, she just needs this. Engage her. Talk to her. Find out what she needs. Engagement is a serious thing. And that's what happened in the greening of Detroit. Now, have they restarted the project? Yes, they plan to. They have restarted the project. But now they have learned their lesson. And now they're going to engage with the people and ask the people, what do you need? And you kind of like, should have asked that from the beginning. It would have saved you several years and a lot of good name, right? Engage with the people. That's why I ask you all the time. When you go to my show page on Apple or Spotify or Google Podcasts or any other podcast platform, the shows that you listen to, we can see the analytics. So I can tell what drives you and what you're interested in, right? It's interesting. We live in a different world today. I don't know how we can get some of us to see that the world that we were born in and the world that they raised us to live in has dramatically changed. My grandmother is 96. Can you imagine how many lifetimes she's lived through? She can, she's forever amazed at this FaceTime technology thing, right? I mean, when she was growing up, a telephone started out as a line between two cans, and then it became an actual telephone. And now she's like, I can talk to you and see you all at the same time. She's amazed at that kind of stuff. You see what I mean? Emails and electronic forms of communication. What is that? Right? Times have changed irrevocably. We're not going back. We're advancing because we're in a postmodern world. We've been postmodern since the 1960s. Our modern way of life is imposing and has imposed stress and pressure on the structural systems of the earth. And we need to just accept that. We're constantly looking for ways to improve our way of life, especially for us here in America and in the developed world, in developed countries, I should say, right? We're constantly. And so that pressure impacts the physical environment. Whether you like the word climate change or not, it is what it is. Rainfalls have dropped. Water retention systems in some places like California are not as effective and are controlled. And so you have wildfires coupled with winds are going to blow right around the planet, right? So our environment is constantly changing because our fast-paced way of life impacts how we live and impacts the stress that is placed on structures that support us. Even the way buildings are built today are different. I read a story once on how the Twin Towers were built as compared to how buildings are built today. Technology has changed. They can build buildings faster, safer, more critical than they built 100 years ago. Progress is good. It's a good thing, yeah? Progress is good, but progress comes at a cost. And the cost of that is engagement with local communities and to engage everyone. So to all the white liberals out there, all the liberals who say, I'm a liberal, I don't have a racist bone in my body, check yourself. Check it one more time. Just go check yourself. You'd be surprised how your base presumptions appear to be racist to someone else. Think about that. I know they're listening because I know they all listen. But we all need to hear it. It's a good message, isn't it? It's a good story. So do me a favor, go to the ExodusFoundation.com. Right on the homepage, you will see my icon to make a donation. This is a listener-supported broadcast. I need your help. Go make a donation. We're a 501c3 organization. That means all deductions are tax deductible. Thank you and thank you and thank you. And as usual, go download our shows. You'll find that we talk about a wide variety of matters. The issues that matter. It's mind-blowing. I even myself, when I look at my show pages on these various platforms, I'm amazed at the breadth of the information that we're distributing and the information that we're sharing with the public. But I want to thank you for being my incentive. So as you continue to listen to our shows, we're deriving and deducing what is it that you find interesting. And I want to thank you for your participation. I sincerely appreciate you taking time out on this Veterans Day. And I just want to say to those of you who have served, I myself am humbled by your service. And I want to thank you for having the courage to defend us so that we can sleep soundly and peacefully. And if you are still serving, hats off to you. I am humbled. Every time I see a vet, I am humbled that you were so incredibly brave. You bring tears to my eyes that you decided that this was your job, that you elected to do this. Thank you to all the veterans, past and to all those present. I am indeed truly grateful for your service. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a happy Veterans Day. Celebrate them today. Thanks so much. Be blessed. Hey, thank you for sticking around and being a part of our show. I can't seem to find the mouse. Anybody found the mouse? The mouse disappeared. But thank you. There it is. It's finding. It's coming somewhere. Thanks, everybody. Be blessed.